What's up everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a completely new series in the channel. This is called Pre-Day Analysis, and this is what we will be doing every day going forward. And in these episodes, what we will be doing is we'll be providing an overall context of the day that we just had and set ourselves up pretty nicely for tomorrow and conduct some analysis to see what we should be prepared for tomorrow and how we can succeed. You want to tie everything together here today so that we are very prepared tomorrow. So I'm very happy to announce this, and if you haven't seen the trade recap episode already, highly recommend you guys to go check that out. We took 2 trades here today, 1 break even, 1 banger trade, even in a decently choppy looking market like such, and we succeeded, and that goes over completely how. So if you have any questions about the specifics of what happened here today, go ahead and refer to that video. But if you're ready to get ourselves prepared for tomorrow, let's dive straight into this. The first step, as always, is to go ahead and see the news for tomorrow. So tomorrow, the news that we have is not much at all. We have pending home sales, which we can take a 5-minute interval, and natural gas storage. Nothing too significant, as you can see here. Just potentially a 5-minute interval at 9, maybe 9:30, but I think just 9 should be sufficient. Nothing that will really affect the market or really the movement of the market too significantly. So to recap what happened here today, market opened, we essentially made a leg towards the upside, swept liquidity towards the upside as highlighted by Bookmap, and from there we pushed all the way down until our main liquidity level. That was the main move for the New York session, the morning New York session. Now after that, what we saw was that we chopped around that level, pushed down even more, and a reasoning for that could have been because FOMC was at this time frame, and FOMC does not care at all about liquidity. Most of the times it just depends on what Mr. Powell or other members say during FOMC. So that's what happened during FOMC. And then finally, market closed. We had NVIDIA earnings get released, and that is what caused this massive move towards the upside, because as you know it, NVIDIA plays a pretty big part in the movement of ES and NQ futures because it makes up a large portion of these ETFs or ETF futures. So we saw a large move up. But one thing interesting about this large move up was that this move went directly into our 3-hour level and main liquidity up towards the top. Now, we can essentially delete all these liquidity levels that we had marked out between the different ranges because we essentially just blasted through all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those levels as well as this level as well. The main thing that will actually give us insight into the market would be through taking advantage of a volume profile. And I want to show you guys why this is so significant. If we simply take a volume profile until there, what do we notice? We see that large amount of volume, the most volume that we've traded in this range, has been traded around this area where we're seeing the most amount of volume traded. So what I noticed already is that we are very extended from that area. What I also noticed is that there is a volume node here which price may retrace to. Typically when such a big move happens, what happens is that during New York Open or London session, we make a large move towards the upside, and then we reverse and make a retracement while still continuing the up move, because this is very, very large. Typically, when we see something this large, we do make a retracement before continuing towards the upside. On the recent range, I do see volume there, and volume is developing near these highs. So I don't expect to see a big retracement down till there. Potentially, you might see it until this area, simply because that's where volume aligns in the recent time frame. Now I want to go ahead and extend this further, even until this level, and we'll extend it up till those highs, just so we can see if there are any other volume cases. So as you see here, volume is still aligning with those lows. I want to see if there's volume that's developed at the highs where we're sitting at right now. And if you take a look at where that is right now, we are sitting inside a low volume node. So this zone and liquidity is sitting inside a low volume node. So that makes me think that if we don't start to generate volume here at this level, we can continue heading upwards until we take out liquidity here. So if we were to mark that out, let's just go ahead and mark it out really quickly. Main liquidity there, main liquidity there, main liquidity there as well, and also main liquidity there. These are going to be the key levels. And on top of that, we do have a pretty nice and coordinated 4-hour supply zone here at the top. And that tells us that this supply zone area is definitely going to be a key target because it aligns pretty nicely with this overall volume that I'm seeing there. So I can definitely expect continued upside, seeing as we did break through this area until the top. But if we don't see continued upside and we start seeing selling pressure occur from now, then I'm expecting retracement until our relative V2 levels or to a fair value, which would be around this area. Let's go into the 1 hour to see if there's any tighter range that we can play off of. And realistically, this area would not be a bad shout, but it's completely hard to tell. And by using order flow in real time tomorrow, we should be able to tell whether a retracement has been a good decision. So there's that. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, because we're in a low volume node, if we don't start to see selling pressure occur, then it is highly likely that we can continue towards the upside up till these levels right here. Another thing that is showing me that we may continue to the upside is that VWAP has moved all the way towards these lows. And since we aren't too far deviated from VWAP, that shows that we can still continue towards the upside. Not too much problem. Previously, I did think that we might potentially retrace before coming up, because that's typically how the market works, because when there's an imbalance, we tend to retrace, and that actually still might happen, but the retracement might not be as large of a scale as we initially thought. So overall, what I see simply from ES is that I definitely am putting myself in a long bias because NQ earnings came out really nicely. And when New York market opens, typically retail and potentially even large money will continue that move upwards because of that positive news that they have gained from NVIDIA earnings. But that's essentially it. If I were to make my preferable outcomes here on ES, how they would look is looking for a retracement down relative to here before a move up, or just simply continued move up until these levels. And what tomorrow's action may look like is tomorrow's action might be building that retracement, or might be building that portion of movement that we head towards the upside. Additionally, we can never throw off the possibility that we consolidate around this area as well. But I'm definitely putting myself in a bullish bias tomorrow just by looking at ES. Now let's take a look at NQ as well. just to solidify our claims and look at all these main liquidity levels that we simply broke through with heavy amounts of strength. Let's go ahead and mark the top where this relates to and set up our volume profile as well. So let's go to the past action and see if there are any 4-hour zones or liquidity levels that we can play off of that align with a high volume node. So what I'm noticing is there's not too much, but let's go ahead and mark out the high volume node. This recent range looks a lot different on NQ than it does on ES, because on ES, how it looks is that we are continuing towards the upside with pretty decent strength. But let's continue to mark this volume profile. I'm going to mark out the recent range. And oh my, we see barely any volume here at the top, which does show potential claim for retracement. But that's because simply the range wasn't built yet. So let's go ahead and put towards those highs. And again, most of the liquidity is here towards the downside. But we do have liquidity up here and volume towards the top. Yeah, we do have volume there. Not too much volume within these two liquidity levels, though. These two are within a low volume node. So potentially within the remainder of the week, what I'm looking to see is either a retracement down to this level, which I expect to see longs again, something like that, or just continual upside until these highs right here. As always, seeking for reaction on those two levels. That is what I'm noticing on NQ. But let's check the VIX as well to see if there's anything that we notice here. What we see is that I don't think that the VIX accounted for that NVIDIA move quite yet. But when it does, it's likely going to be a large downwards move. And if we had broken downwards with such strength, I think that we should be able to continue going upwards. Okay, so the market has put us into quite a predicament here because volume has been differing on NQ and ES. But how it looks like is that we are going to continue towards the upside simply with how volume and the news have played out. But we need to be aware that a retracement of a decent size might occur before we see that upwards action continue. But that's essentially my preferable outcomes. Definitely an upwards bias because of the NVIDIA news, unless we see large aggressive selling come in near these tops where we're sitting at right now that continue to push down past a variety of different key levels. But that's where I'm gonna leave it off here for today. If you have any questions regarding the concepts I discussed today, feel free to join the Discord. The link is in the description down below. Everything is completely free and lots of resources that I highly recommend you guys to check out. Additionally, you can take advantage of order flow tools like Footprint and Bookmap using the links in the description below for completely free to practice as well. We are looking forward to see how you guys grow, and feel free to leave a comment down below as well. I'll make sure to answer there as well. But that's all I have here for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow after the trade recap episode for the next pre-day analysis episode. I guess I'll see you guys then. Bye.